Welcome to The Girl Herd,
where we talk Texas football.
and a bunch of takes you probably already heard.
But not from us.
Welcome everybody to the Girl Herd. We are so pumped to welcome a Longhorn legend this week, Quan Cosby. Thank you for joining us.
I appreciate it, man. Of course, big fan of all of you, and I know when I heard about y'all doing this, I was fired up. Appreciate what y'all have done for the school. We some of the best to ever do it. We went to school around the same time, and it's pretty damn special. And so now I'm looking forward to talk a little ball with y'all, and no better time, man. What a freaking year we've had. It's and holy shit. Back in our day, we played. Oh, did I cut? Back in our day, we played the Aggies, and now it's happening again. So we all have fond memories about that. Knots, we don't do Hex Rally anymore, but we participated in them and had a lot of fun.
Yeah. When Michelle and Angie told me that you were coming on the pod this week, I was like, no better week. We had Aaron for OU. Now we've got you, Quan, for A&M, and the first time playing them in a very long time. So we're super pumped up for this conversation. And you know what's funny? Like you said, back in our day, I wasn't even going to go there, but it made me laugh, like seeing you last year featured in one of our intro videos in the game, in the in-game experience, which is awesome. And this year it's Colt, I believe. And so I like look around at the students. I'm like, what's your interaction with the students when you're walking around? Like the actual students who are in school now, are they like, oh my gosh, or are they like walking by you and like don't really know who you and Colt are anymore? Like, what's the vibes?
Yeah, that's a really good question, D, because I'm so involved with so much stuff that and that intro. And so a buddy of mine once said, and it gave me a little gem. He said, man, my entire life I was told it's about who you know. And I was like, you're damn right. I know that. And he's like, no, it's about who knows you. And I said, whoa, that's deep. But when I did the radio, when I first got back, when doing on the intro, of course, Colt, and by the way, you get some sweet boots if you do that. So it's always fun. And Luke Casey, we'll give him a shout out. Hey, Luke Casey, come give them a sponsorship. But and so it's kind of cool from that standpoint because these students are just on the brink of it. Ironically, a really good friend of mine, her daughter, who I met when I was in the league, and I've known them, but I met her kids. Both of her kids are coming home for Thanksgiving from college. And so our day is, and I'll go talk to schools and I'm like, so 2005, I was born in 2013. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I was like, man, 2005 is not that long ago, folks. Come on, you youngsters. But they really don't quite know about those times. And clearly I'm not 6'6" like Vince, so it's even harder to kind of understand. And so, man, it's the current kids, because of that video, because of social media, as much as I'm a little more old school and not great at social media, it plays a massive role. If you follow Texas football and there's a clip and there's different stuff like that. And for good and bad reasons, Cosby's a name that you can remember. It was way better back in the day. Now it gets got a little asterisk on our name, but that's easy to remember for it. So they actually know. And last but not least, this state, kudos going into Aggie Week. Between UT and the Aggies, our fan base is the real deal. And the Bennett's, all the different people via social media that often use throwbacks to keep us semi-relevant. And by the way, I'm one of the dudes who I want us to win the Natty. I'm okay to move on. I'll stay behind the scenes. I want these guys and these young ladies to freaking experience what we were fortunate enough to experience. So it's the best of both worlds. They do know for now. I think that fuse is getting real short. And then hopefully these guys can win one and we could talk about them for the next 20 years.
Juan, you mentioned a little bit about between the state, our fans and their fans, where I don't recall this. So were you also being recruited ever by A&M?
Oh gosh, yeah. And my whole baseball story. So I was recruited by RC Slocum, which I will say this, and I mean it. That dude, I actually told Coach Brown RC actually out recruited you, and that says a lot. Problem is, I wasn't going to no damn College Station, and so between those two, they were. And by the way, they're actually best friends, so they laugh when we talked. We were sitting around talking about this story, and he said it. And RC to that day, he said, "I always told people, go to A&M or go to Texas. You're in a win-win situation." So they were, but what changed my mind, and recruiting trips can be fun on every level. And I go there. The second I saw my name on the back of an Aggie jersey, my stomach turned. And I go, and there's a little more story because I went to a small school and our rival school was named Riesel, and they were maroon too.
Maroon.
Oh, I couldn't stand that dang town. And they had a lot of people who went to A&M. Literally in my senior year in baseball, this dude, the pitcher going to A&M, and he hissed on the freaking mound. So it is A&M should probably get mad at him because he had a lot to do with my dislike. But I saw it, and then we went out to Old Kyle Field, and they had these revolving old school technology jerseys, and it had my name in there. And they announced it when I came out, and I go, it was day one. I was there for two nights, 3 days. I didn't even go out. I ran up like $150 bill on movies in the Hilton Hotel. And I said, I'm sorry. I don't even want to lie to y'all. I am not coming to this place. My boy Tommy Harrison, they all hit me up and they're like, "Hey Q, y'all have fun. Northgate's for y'all do. I'm not going. I'm sick. I'm sick to my stomach that I'm here." And I felt bad because they freaking flew us in on this sweet private jet. It was me, Derek Johnson, Tommy Harris, Benson, RIP. And I was like, nope, I want no part of it. So I was recruited by him because actually my hometown's an hour from College Station. And so RC probably even broke some rules being down in my hometown. He came a lot, but it just did not feel right when I got. And it's not a maroon thing because I took a visit to Florida State. Bobby Bowden. I loved Florida State, but being in that Aggie stuff, it just didn't feel right. And that's honestly probably when I realized, you know what? I like these Longhorns a lot more than I realized because RC was great.
The culture is very different in College
Oh,
Station.
it's so, I'm telling you, it was the weirdest thing. An 18-year-old running there, and I'm like, you getting love. And I was like, oh, that does not look good. I don't like it.
Getting the heebie-jeebies.
I did, man. And to the point to where I didn't even go out. That says a lot.
What do you
Well,
think?
I mean,
What do you
it's
think
going down the
about
conversation.
the recruiting today in comparison?
Golly, man.
Are you
Oh,
on one of
man.
those Lambos or what, Quan?
Oh, what a loaded question and a great question. I'm so conflicted because again, when I got back from baseball, do the whole, trip, and I was older. And so I had baseball money. So I kind of, in a weird way, had my NIL kind of deal, but I didn't because I worked my butt off and I didn't get that till I performed. Walking up to a school and seeing Lambos, this is where the grandpa in me comes in. And that's what these fools started calling me, like Aaron. I'm like, bro, I'm not that much older than you. But I just think it's a bad look because being in the league, there's not a lot of Lambos in the league. There's guys who are making 20 million a year, and that's a horrible investment. And so I just think, and it's not overthinking it. I think you do what you got to do. It's flash. It's kind of where we are. We go to the game now. As much as I love so much about it, I do think some of it's a little over top. And I argue with CDC, and I was like, listen, Pods, you can have George Strait, Lil Wayne, Drake, Kendrick Lamar, you name it. They can all perform from dusk to dawn. But if we lose, and this when I talked to them about it, we're still in the Big 12. I said, but if we lose to Kansas, our fan base is not going to say, you know what? I had the best time ever. I know we lost. No, we care about football, dog. And so some of that stuff, I'm a little conflicted now. And quite frankly, I believe so much in Sark's staff and Coach Banks, Coach Flubb, Coach Stark, Coach Choice, and all the above. Our boy Blake. I don't think you need all that. I think ultimately winning cures all. These folks are getting money, so just give them bread. Don't give them Lambos. And I will say, I don't think a lot of them get that anyway. There's, maybe a quarterback, Bijan, certain folks figure that piece of it out. But I don't know that the recruiting now was bad. Some people ask me, why didn't you want to coach? duh, I don't want to recruit. I can't stomach recruiting a kid that might choose A&M or Oklahoma or Baylor. So I struggle with that. It's personal to me. And so I didn't want to recruit. And it's even worse now. They don't have a life. I mean, it's 24/7. And last but not least, you're recruiting the kid to get him on campus. And now you're re-recruiting every kid every year because of the portal.
Yep.
What? That's not okay. It's like, so I took care of you, gave you some bread. You're here. You're playing or not playing because you haven't earned it yet, and you're threatening me every year that you're gonna leave, man. I'm just way too passionate about this school and about my work and about my time to be okay with their current structure. And there is going to be some legislation that is probably going to change in the next year or two.
I was about to say, first of all, I think it's our loss because I can tell you'd be really good at recruiting for us. And they say the thing that you don't want to do is the thing that you should actually do, Quan. So just be thinking that background.
I appreciate
But,
that.
yeah,
She's
yeah,
planting
Hey, I'll tell
seeds.
you what,
She's planting
I keep
seeds. You
seeing these
hear
coaches' salaries. I might change my mind.
You're like, oh, yeah, I gotta consider that. But man, the whole thing, like I was watching the Bryce Underwood situation and I feel for that kid because it was like the 10 million number being thrown out with Michigan and he was just visiting LSU and the back and forth. And they said that the real number came in just over that. And it's like, if this kid who has never played a down of college football doesn't in fact produce a national championship and doesn't do what they are expecting, A, the pressure that's on your head to be that young, and B, I think you're right. Legislation, and I think things are going to quickly start to change. And I love at the end of the day, you said you believe in our coaching staff, because so do I. And I think we have such an authentic approach, and Sark does. He respects the game a lot. So I think we have that going for us.
I think we do too. And let's be real about this. And I hope some recruits are listening. These numbers aren't real. So this is what is real about them. If they say, "Oh yeah, it's going to be," it's almost like guaranteed contracts, right? You're going to stay here for 4 years, and if we give you, because let's be real, if Arch stays here for his 4, he's going to make north of $15 million. So Texas could easily say, "Hey, we want you for 15." Well, in reality, if we want you for 8, well, that's going to be 1 point this a year. So, that's what the real numbers kind of look like because no one's getting that every year. That would be insane. And the schools would even more, they would push for legislation even faster because more money you give the players, which I think is okay if there's a likeness aspect, the less you give, these donors are going to give to the school. That's just the way it is. And we have more and bigger donors than just about anyone. Michigan has some pretty good ones too. But really, yeah, man, that pressure, that world, that role. And who's going to give a kid $15 million who could transfer without penalty? Hell, I'd be like, I'm picking you sophomore year. I'm in Austin. Bye, Felicia. Because it just so some of that stuff is the stories are being told on that level, especially to get crazy. And by the way, there's also a defensive mechanism to that. Tell that story. Some crazy school gives a kid 10 million. Well, you just depleted filling the gaps for the rest of your team. So we're finally being honest about collegiate sports being the business that it is. And it's every bit of that. So yeah, man, it can't be name, image, and likeness, and you get money to come there. You don't have a name, image, and likeness. My story on why it needed to happen is because love our school. They're still selling Earl Campbell jerseys. Let's be real. They're making bread off that. So now if you can find a way to give them a cut or give them a boost or a bump or whatever, everybody wins. But if you're now doing that, and this school we're playing this week is the one who opened that door to buying recruiting classes, all of which they have about 2 of those members left on this team, if that, and they don't start. So you probably nothing you should do when it comes to the young kids. And that's the elephant in the room. I think it's also because of the portal. What used to have 25 scholarships, you're probably more about 15, and then you're leaving 10 to fill gaps from the portal. So it's actually affecting the high school level kids too. So it's to both of y'all comment on it. It's a disaster. It is not good right now. And it needs to be figured out for all involved, the schools, the kids, the ages that they can apparently have these days who okay, change the scenario. I know I was fortunate enough to have a great agent. A lot of my buddies are because we all went to athletes first, but there's a lot of them out there who all of a sudden want to be agents, and they're taking advantage if not doing these kids bad.
Yes, I mean, I think you said it at some point, like, where is the ceiling, right? Like, there has to be something that's put into place, but also outside of the football perspective, like, we have to be able to teach these kids, right?
Yes.
It's so much more than you coming and getting all this money to do what you do on the field. Like, we have to put you in a better place for life and to succeed once this is all over, right? And that's like a big piece of it too, like what you're talking about with an agent and who we're putting in front of these kids and who they're, being molded and shaped by and what they're hearing. So that's a huge thing that for you of like being an alum and still being so active in our program and with these kids to kind of guide and mentor them is so big.
We can try, but the problem with that is we typically don't meet the kids until they're here.
Mm.
And these folks that are getting involved in their life as they're being recruited or they become in the top 100, they're getting involved in their life. By the way, let's be real about this. This has been happening in basketball for a long time, but now it's starting to happen on the football and different sports, and they're getting involved with the parents and all of that way before that happens. The funny story about my involvement in my old school ways is Marquise Goodwin, clearly a great Longhorn and Olympian. I was on a panel because we just did panels back in the day. You're a current athlete, go in here, it's 5 or 6 of you. You have all the recruits in the crowd, their parents. That was really your involvement, other than the hosting and that fun stuff. But I didn't talk a lot because I was older. By that time, I was 25, going into my senior year. And Marquise, I was a shorter receiver. Marquise was the same, ran certainly a lot faster though, and his mom noticed I didn't say a lot, but Marquise was a fan of me, and he was like, "Hey, Quan, you don't say a lot. What's up?" And I laughed, and I go, "Well, what advice would you have?" Is what she said. By the way, this worked because he ended up being a Longhorn, but Coach Brown was not happy with my answer, and I said, "Well, come on Tuesday." And she was like, "What?" I was like, "Come on Tuesday." I was like, "The real school experience is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. When you come in the fall on a game weekend, hell, that's on steroids. That's a performance. That's 7 weeks in a year." And I said, "But if the place you plan to be in or you're going to want to be in during the week, I promise you, I don't want to be in Tuscaloosa on Tuesday. I don't want to be in College Station on Tuesday. I don't even want to be on College Station on Saturday, but we have to because we're playing there." And so that's just the reality of where you're going to be. And if you think about, y'all know this, when y'all come back to games, dude, even in Nashville, when we saw y'all, there's guys getting together, going on trips together, supporting each other. The same group you saw in Nashville, we're all going on a golf trip for Jamal and my birthday in December. And so it becomes a family that you hope for and want, and you don't have to pay guys to come back because of you're in Auburn, Alabama. And so it's Coach Brown said, "You don't like recruiting, do you?" I was like, "No, I do, man. I just got to keep it real." And ironically, his parents appreciated that, and he became a Longhorn. But that's what it is. At some point, it's going to have to get back to that piece of it. And last but not least, what we really understand and appreciate is we have a degree from one of the best damn universities on the planet, and that's going to take you way further. As it's been a little bit since we left, we're still repping the burnt orange, and it's still getting dividends for having a degree from there versus some of the places that you go to play football.
You've said so much, and I feel like all of us, we could go down so many ways of this and like talk about this for so long because we're all passionate about our school, the players, the culture, the team we have, all the things. I think, Devin said it best. Sounds like you need to start being a recruiter, Quan, help these guys. I mean, we talked about the Lambos and how the people in the league shouldn't even have, have those and like money. And I know we all feel passionate about all sorts of things. Something and like going into this week in A&M that you said of like flash forward to Tuesday and where do you want to be? That's everyone always asks me. Like most of my high school went to A&M. A lot of my family went to A&M. Everyone knows how much I've talked about this game all year long. But what it was I had visited College Station, and then my mom was like, I'm going to take you to Austin. And we drove through campus just a random day. And that's when I was like, this is where I want to be. Hands
Yeah.
down. Austin.
Yes, I was the same way. I ran track because you go to a small school, you play multiple sports. And honestly, I grew up loving Bo Jackson and Dion. So I was thinking about Auburn. I was thinking about Florida State. My first experience in Austin was running track and getting to state as a freshman in high school. And I was, ran on the relays and stuff like that. And I go, what? This is, I grew up in a small town, poor as hell. I never really left my town very often. So I was like, this is, and by the way, Mart looks a lot more like College Station. And so I was like, this is what I want to go to here. I want to, and then every year we were fortunate enough to go back, and that was it in a nutshell. And then of course, Mike Myers Stadium, Texas Relays. Every time I went, I fell more and more in love with it. And then I met this guy named Mac Brown and his coaching staff, and it only solidified it. But that's it, man. It's this city and what it is. People, it's almost like they got a plan a year and ahead. All right, I'm gonna go to Columbus, Ohio, this game, and I'm gonna try to make the best of it. Hey, let's get a group of guys to try to go. No, any random whatever day you get to this city, you shoot a couple of texts and you're going to dinner with 8 folks that you went to school with. Or even more, you have a friend that went to New York, a friend that went to here, LA, you name it, Chicago. Hey, we're going to this game. Not only are we going to go back to Austin because we make that happen every year, but let's meet in Nashville. Let's meet in blah, 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 blah. And so it's a really, really easy deal because of the passion, because of what this place is, means, this city is in this state, this crazy state that we live in. And so it's fun, man. It's a big, Coach Brown said something really cool. There's a person during COVID who couldn't have a party, big, massive birthday, and then soon afterwards, someone I knew that was terminally ill. And I don't hit Coach Brown up a lot about this stuff, but I was like, hey man, this person couldn't have a party. I'm gonna send you something. Could you sign it for their 50th birthday? Did that. He then also sent me a video of him singing happy birthday to this kid.
Oh,
And I go, I'm on goosebumps. Like, Coach Brown, what are you doing, man? And then the kid, he did something very similar. And it was all kind of in the next few days. And I go, Coach, man, I didn't ask for that. I'm sorry. I'm feeling bad. He's like, Q, it was a lifetime decision, not a 4-year decision. And so, and then he does the whole Hook 'em Hills deal now. And so, nah, man, that's what it was. Kudos to him. And prime example, when Coach Brown was done coaching, because he has more money than he can deal with, he'll probably keep a house out there, but he's coming back to Austin, and he'll play golf with a lot of our guys, and his charitable events are still in Austin. So, man, all of that matters more than kind of the Lambos and the BS we're dealing with, and educating these young people, because the stats that really matter is even in the league, even with them out buying Lambos, like 80+% of them unfortunately lose their money or go broke and get taken advantage of. And we don't want that to start trickling down to an even lower level. And starting with taxes, Uncle Sam's gonna get his. And so I think there's already been such scenarios where you get a check and like slash about 30% off that before this happens. And those horror stories of 10 years later, they got in a bad situation, had to file for bankruptcy, had to do this, they can't get a house. It can create, like most things, just as much headache as it could the temporary thing of what money kind of does for. We need it, we got to pay our bills, but money can be a pain in the you know what, and especially for young people who don't know what the hell to do with it, but to buy big jewelry and cars. It does look good on them. I'm gonna tell them that it looks good, but
I love that story about Mac. I feel like we as Longhorns all feel that he's on our personal loan to UNC right now. And so,
Yeah.
we'll let him do his thing. Once he's ready to come back to Austin, I know that the community so looks forward to that. I want to talk about Kyle
Hey.
Field. I want to talk about like all the stuff we don't know, Quan. Like X's and O's, we could chop that up. But you as a player going in there to play, talk to us about the energy, the emotions, the focus. Like what went into that week to like make sure that you all could take care of business?
You know what's crazy is what's wild because we can talk about it on this level because y'all usually rolled in day of, especially because ours is usually the night game, and I'll probably do the same this year. But we went, that Friday. Ironically, this is the main their history of with us is so. Y'all know we went to Conroe. We spent the night in Conroe. Well, and now it'd be funny if they spent the night like Margaritaville or something. But we went to freaking. Matter of fact, no, that's where we were before Margaritaville was Margaritaville.
Yes.
We went to Conroe and stayed on that place on the lake because you can't stay in College Station because there's history of food not showing up, phones going off all night. So there's always that piece of it, and they're just going to be ridiculous. You know what's funny about that? It's amazing when people do extra to try to help them set. That's something to be said about that. Just play the game and win. Don't do all the other BS. And they took out code a couple of times, so I'm still a little salty about that. But
Same.
this week was special because one, and they brought it back. There is kind of a naming to it. Little brother, they really they struggle with that, man. I mean, we haven't played them for 13 years, and I'll admit I've actually been to a game at New Kyle Field, two of them, and you watch games because they're in the state. I mean, and no, nothing better than to see them lose like last week. It was fun, and so and as crazy as it is, I wanted them to win that game so we can go in and now
Right?
nothing changed. It's still you win, you're in. Oh, actually, something did change. You know, if they won that game last week, Georgia would not have been in. It would have been A&M. Oh, Aggie's going Aggie, baby. But but no, we knew what the game meant. We knew what going to Kyle felt, and what was unique, and as we all know, Texas OU is our hated rivalry, but we played them in the Cotton Bowl. Well, the home and home made it that much more special, and it was right down the street. You got Brenham in the middle. It was just it was so much about this game that we love. 13 years we didn't play them, but yet you didn't watch a game and they didn't put horns down, and so we man, I don't even know if the new rent free. It has to be another term for the Aggies because they made T-shirts about our Georgia game. There
Literally
was somebody that,
top of
and
mind always. Like
bro,
anything that
like
they can
there's
do to
not there's
talk
rent
about us,
free,
like it's
and
an
then
obsession.
no, I'm about to say there's rent free, and then there's some like we need a protective order. Like we need to go to the judge and say, listen, can you please? They're making shirts and cups about a game they did not participate in. Like that is a whole nother stalking type situation. And I know some other scenarios behind the scenes with my role with UT when when we decided to come to the SEC, whoo, big mad. And so nah man, it was fun to prepare for it. It was an important game for the state. And I'm gonna tell y'all, there's probably gonna be I wasn't gonna go, and I was like, oh hell yeah, I'm going. And 110,000 they're gonna try to get in that stadium. There's could probably be another 100,000 in that city that it can't handle it.
Yeah.
And there's probably going to be 20 million people watching that dang game.
Yes.
So it's cool because even before we love it, we knew it. This game, for a lot of people, even that are not in this state, they watched it on Thanksgiving and it became cool and special. And it created, honestly, a good portion of our t-shirt. We love our t-shirt fans. And it created a lot of them. I have a friend who earlier in the year, a couple of games ago, she came down from South Dakota, and she has muscular dystrophy. Her name's Kaylee, and she's sweetest girl ever. One of the biggest freaking I say girl, lady. She's in her 30s. One of the biggest UT fans. And games like this is what helped her fall in love from South Dakota, and it was her very first time being in the state, and it was these type of games that did that. So I'm fired up that it's back. It's what, Monday? So Monday suck anyway. But by Thursday, Thanksgiving, I'm gonna be honest, I'll probably get a little giddy because this thing it feels weird right now. But by Thursday, when it's kind of, oh damn, this is like the last practice, it's go time. I'm gonna be a little fired up because this game just hits different.
Yeah, so we've talked a lot on our pod about our defense on our team right now and how obsessed we are with our defense and how lights out that they're always playing. As an offensive guy, can you talk to us about how disruptive our defense is for our opponents and what they have to do going into College Station, the 12th man, how loud it is? What do they have to do?
Man, you keep doing what the hell they're doing. That's you know what, and it's funny. I don't worry about haters. If you're not doing anything, you don't have haters, right? When you're killing it, you grow them in droves, especially these days. But the talking heads, the one problem I have with them, oh, Texas hadn't played anything. Okay, whatever. Say what you want. You cannot deny that even our one loss, Georgia had less than 300 yards of offense, and we got 3 picks from them. Our defense, the #1 defense on the freaking globe in collegiate sports. That's why you don't say that argument. That's why you dude, they're so freaking good. Jade, Hill, so many. Collins came back, took it that year, and he's making himself some money. We got, the ones that we're gonna get back because they're so Simmons. That dude's a freshman. And he was a late flip too, so that was big. And so they're just tap daddy. They are just so freaking good. Thing is, they perform every single week. Even in our loss, they perform. And defense travels. So going into Kyle Field, my only worry because of the past is we struggle versus running quarterbacks. Well, Vanderbilt had a really good running quarterback. That dude was gritty. He's a baller. And then we saw Green at Arkansas, so I think we're very prepared for that. As far as the craziness of Kyle, the defense, and I know Sark has been doing this whole like take the ball first. I don't see him doing that at Kyle Field because essentially them on offense that'll get the crowd to calm down a little bit. We get a 3 and out or we stop them and then we get on offense. It's a weird that's the psychological aspect of what you're trying to create. And why not lead with the best freaking unit on your team? They are ballers. Like they all those dudes, man, they just they follow the ball. They're very disciplined. And even they finally think about this. They gave up 5. The first time ever this defense gave up 5 explosive plays in the passing game against Kentucky. So now for the season, they now have 22 on the year. That's 11 games in 2024. Like, come on now, that's unheard of in the SEC, and so it's really that defense is impressive, and my confidence in who we are as a team has everything to do with that. We've had our turnover crap, and we had a couple of fumbles last week, but there's a time where I don't know that in 11 games, I think our defense has given over 300 yards of offense 2, maybe 3 times total. So I'm a believer. Defense wins championships. We know that. And then if we can complement it with the run game we saw last week, Quinn being healthy and doing his thing because he can get hot. If Arch need to come in, trust we have the best backup quarterback on the planet. And so I like our chances, man. It's going to be tough, though. Vegas has us, I think, like a 7 because they're not, I promise. Listen, we were like 5-7 when we beat them last time. They were ranked. They had Von Miller, oh my boy. Matter of fact, I got to see if he's coming. We had all these dudes, and they got beat by us. They've been rolling around in this mud for 13 years. They then have the most unreal epic season of their life where they actually have a chance for the SEC championship. Haven't had that 13 years. I'll be damned if the burnt orange don't roll his ass to Kyle Field and can ruin. They will need a level of therapy that you can't. I mean, it's gonna be and I don't mean this, and I mean it in kind of a joke, but not in an insensitive way. It's gonna be like post-COVID level needs of therapy and like drink, and you name it, because drinking during COVID went up like 700,000%. The Aggies will need that. They've been having to wait for this long. And by the way, in order for them to get to the playoff, they need to beat us and Georgia. Come on now. And so it's just Disney couldn't have written it better, but also for an epic, we beat them 8-4 Aggie norm, Aggie's gonna Aggie type of situation. So I am fired up about what's to come. And I do like our chances, mainly, Angie, because of our defense.
I love what you said about the defense traveling because they asked Colin Simmons about it, about Kyle Field, and he's like, "Good luck to the offense." He's like, "I'm on defense. Like, we're gonna be ready. It's gonna be fine." But controversial question to put you on a spot, since now our team is back to the level of expectation. Do you think this is our best all-time defense we've ever had, or who is in your eyes?
Oh God, no, that ain't controversial. Not a
You about
chance
to
in
say
hell.
you about to say racking on them?
Bro, and yes, they're one of them. And I'm not even gonna say theirs was the best. Listen, there's no Vince Young play if we don't stop USC 4th and 2. Listen, that freaking, I think we forget how good USC's offense was because we won the game and they can kiss it. But they literally had 11 NFL guys, like top, like day one, day two guys. And Reggie Bush made 2 good plays. Their receiver, I mean, Matt Leinart only had like 5 incompletions that game. And Lindell White, we stopped him once. That was 4th and 2. And so our defense that year, and the year we won the Natty, because we also went to Columbus. That year we beat number 3 at home and essentially number 1 at home, with them being in Pasadena and down the street from LA. And then we beat, Ohio State for the first time in 20, 30 years. Any L they took at Columbus. So that defense, in my opinion, was certainly top 2. There's some back in the old days, but I mean, really, dude, y'all weren't playing these offenses or these, come on, bro. Hey, let me hand it
I
off.
love it.
Just all you had to do was tackle. They're already gonna tackle this guy or that guy. So you can't. Those stats aren't real. In the modern era, in my opinion, the number 1 defense was 05, which is easy to say. And I would say the number 2 defense was probably 08. And then these guys right here, and it's early. If they somehow find a way to get to, if they finish this season with 1 loss and the defense, I'll put them in the mix, but they got to earn
All right, they got to get there. We got 6 more
Yeah.
games, so 5, 6 games to go.
it.
That is wild to say that we have that many games to go.
I know, isn't that weird?
I'm like, I'm so tired. Like, I feel like we've been going to so many games already. Like, how is this possible?
Listen.
It's like the marathon season that like never ends.
I mean, if all said and done, I think I was counting the other day and I was like, oh my gosh, these kids been playing 15, 16 games, which is, you know what? That's what the league is. And let's be real, they're getting paid now, so deal with it, bro.
I can't
So
wait.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
We talked about it a little bit earlier, but the fact of how long the season is and Sark's decision to leave Quinn in after he got a little banged up, especially with us coming into this big rivalry week. What are your thoughts on that?
There's a lot of so the job that I do for President Hart, so I'm usually running around, make sure people are good. Metcalf was there. There's a lot of great Bijan, a lot of great Longhorns that between Ricky Brown and me, we try to make sure they feel like, because I mean, you think about it, and as crazy as it is, when we were all there, it was such a family and such a kind of a spot. And well, when you change ADs 3 times, presidents 3 times, coaches 3 times, well, you don't even have a contact. Now Bianco's been there for 88 years, but still, I mean, that's good. And we have him, and Huff Daddy is back on there, but some of our role is doing that. So I'm, quite frankly, I love away games because I get to sit there and just truly watch. But I love home games because we get to kind of make sure we try to keep our culture. So I didn't see Quinn as being as banged up, but then I rewatched it because I had some text messages about it the next morning. And I was so confused. I was like, we won by 17. What is everybody whining about? But no, man, there's 2 levels to it. One, we do have a very capable, more than capable. We have a really good backup. So it makes sense, especially because we ran the ball so much. But in theory, that's the surface level. Sark is so between the ears on a lot of levels. And if he wants Quinn, what is Quinn's issue with leaving? Well, folks saying you finish the season. You can't be a top 10 pick, top 5 pick if you can't be healthy and you're brittle. So the grit that Quinn showed in getting that win, making a couple of plays, even a little gimpy, he threw some dimes on, with the bang up level. That when they ask that question now, they're going to go to this game and say, hey man, I was more banged up, and oh, you actually saw I got an MRI after that and I finished the game. You can depend on me to play and be tough. And so I think it was a lot bigger picture which what I've gotten to know in Sark, he does think on that level. It's nothing against Arch. Arch would have came in and balled out, and we would have continued to kick their butt. But Arch, as he get older, even if he got, and I have no idea if he got mad about it, but as he get older, he's gonna appreciate. You know how you say some stuff, and you're as I'm mad, and I could have done it. It was the last home game. It would have been sweet. Big picture later on, he can be like, man, I respect, sometimes people don't like what you do, but if they respect it, they'll grow to like it. And I think Sark did what was best for Quinn's future. In theory, you're like, but he could have gotten hurt. Well, that's football. At the end of the day, I think he could have gotten hurt. Sark's trust in Arch is why he actually did that. Because if he did get hurt, you got this rivalry game. I'm telling you, because of our defense and because of what I've seen with Arch and his legs, I just would have trusted that we would have still had a really big chance to go into Kyle Field and be okay if it was worse than what we thought. And I know a lot of people hadn't thought about that, but I nerd out on it. And I do know that it's going to pay dividends to Quinn, looking tough, finishing the game. Because that happened, man. I mean, really, before halftime, as I watched, I was like, oh, he got walked in before halftime. Okay. No wonder people were like, what the hell? But for him to finish that game, I just think big picture for his NFL future, he finished the game. And they're going to say, okay, now we saw a little grit. And to take it to another level, my old man, he's hardcore military dude, the guy who adopted me, he called me and I fell asleep because I'm old, and it was like 7:45 after the game and I was worn out, and may have had a sip of something. But I called him the next day. I was like, bro, you called me. I'm sorry I didn't see it. He's like, no, I was just calling you to say I thought Quinn was gonna tap out, but he hung in there and he won that game for y'all. And I go, yeah. And I still didn't have the details because I hadn't watched it. But little things like that, some people will see it and kind of see it for what it is. And because Quinn is loved. I know we're tough because we have a Manning, but in talking to the scouts, they're comparing him to Matt Stafford. They're saying he has those, mechanics outside. Matt's a little bit Quinn, boy, that boy runs in quicksand. He doesn't have the speed, and Stafford was a little more baseball athletic, but truly to get that comparison, Matt Stafford this year, I think he's number 9 now at all-time yards, and nobody would know that because he played on crappy teams before. But so that's big praise, and if you can knock that worry of injuries like they did, I actually say kudos to Sark, big picture, for doing that for Quinn, because I do feel like, Quinn's 10-1 again for us, and so I think Longhorn Nation should give him his due and say, hey, find a way to fin. You win next week, 2-1 versus OU and 1-0 versus A&M. We're gonna be happy about you.
Pretty
Pretty good. We're gonna be pretty good.
I really appreciate that perspective, though, especially coming from somebody who has been in the system, albeit a different head coach and type of program at the time. But I think that aligns to a lot of the stuff we've been discussing on the pod around the mental aspect and just the relationship between Quinn and Sark. And that's probably what went on there. And so I do like that. I do like that you received that message about, oh, he stuck it out. And so, I think as fans, we want the best outcome for the team, obviously, and we were seeing a thing and wanting one thing to happen and hoping that he was healthy. But I really like that perspective, Quan, for sure.
And you go back to even more than likely he got retaped in the halftime. And I'll tell even everybody how this works. You go in there, you sit in your position, you're pretty much organized that way anyway, especially on game day. All the quarterbacks are right there. Sark comes up, hey man, you feeling good? Quinn's here, Arch is here, blah, 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 blah. Hey, man, how you feeling? Oh, coach, I got it. I'm good. I can stick it out. You sure, man? We got to take care of you. No. I need to. I'm good. Arch is sitting right there. Arch hears that conversation. And again, him doing that, anxious or not, who doesn't want to get in the game, especially Arch, because he's been in that thing. He's like, oh, last home game, let me go kick some butt. So the competitor in him would be fired up. But in the trenches, I bet he understood even more. Now, I say that it's kind of hard because there was a couple of times I'm like, oh man, but you're still kind of straddling the line of Quinn said he can do it. Quinn better get it done. And their relationship, I can imagine, there's a level of respect. Like, hey man, kudos. Potentially, I mean, we don't know this, but that was also potentially Quinn's last game at DKR. And so,
Senior night.
again, sorry fans, I get what it looked like, and I actually truly understand why everybody thought that, but the nerd out of football and psychological aspect of me and what I feel like Sark, the relationship he has with his players, it actually makes sense that it played out the way it did.
Yeah, we talked about senior night and the last home game as well being probably part of it. And I mean, yeah, and going next year or NFL, whatever that path looks like. So on your point of if he did get hurt and thinking about Arch going in, I had this conversation a few times. And Quan, you and I have talked about what it's like to play in DKR and the noise, and then versus like Kyle Field. What is it like playing in an atmosphere like that as well?
You know it's awesome because first and foremost, what we all love is the icy whites. Let's go. Man, we love our burnt orange, but those icy whites were fire. And so that we actually, what you know and what y'all know as a Longhorn is when people 11 schools say we're their rivals. We're like, we got like 1.5. I don't know what y'all talking about. But 11 schools say we're their rival. And so we are very, very hated. Oh gosh, the SEC are like, oh, and now y'all are good and you're in our conference. And we told y'all wait till you get the SEC. Now they trying to water down the teams. Oh no, y'all got the easiest schedule ever. So we are that, and they take it as arrogance, and I totally disagree. I think Dion to me has always been a very confident person. And I've never really, he's way too humble, spiritually grounded to be overly cocky. He's just now his son's, that's a different conversation. He ain't Dion. Dion has a gold jacket. I do like Shadur, but he need to pump the brakes. It is nothing better than to be hated and to quiet. So you talk about Kyle Field's going to be crazy. This may be the one game because it's been so long. Even if we're beating them by 3 touchdowns, they're going to be crazy. But normally you go in, the feeling of scoring and looking up there and taking middle fingers in and hearing them crazy, it is so freaking satisfying. And so that's the deal. It's like, yes, I return a kickoff and I just go in there like, oh, let's see a maroon. Oh, I cannot wait to send y'all home crying. Oh, do your little wavy thing. We're going, I don't care. We got all of that. And so they didn't even want it. You know what? And then we thought about it at such a level, like, oh no, it ain't gonna be kissing tonight. Cause don't they kiss people when they're like, nah, y'all gonna they ain't gonna be kissing tonight.
You gotta go to Northgate for all that after the game.
Yeah, go to Northgate, get a couple of drinks and then do that. Not on our time. So we loved being on the road so much because, and there's another story to that. And I'm gonna be some truth serum for when we played as much as we won, we got complacent as a fan base. So it was a golf clap. It was, oh yeah, that's what you're supposed to do versus what they have now. These folks, they know the assignment. They are rowdy and crazy. Sometimes student body too much. Don't be throwing water bottles. But, and then, by the way, somebody gonna talk about, oh, we better get our way. They throw water and beer. I said, fool, did no one throw any beer down there? Them beers are $12. Nobody throwing beer.
Can't afford the beer in the stadium.
Come on, man. That was straight plastic water. Everybody was safe. And so that's what is so cool that we actually, when we went to places very similar to Michigan and all the other places we've gone, Vanderbilt hold 40 and we had 29 there. You know, we like that perspective of being on the road. It's different. It's a level of whether people admit it or not. You go on the road, you're in the hotel. It's you against the world. And when you have a close team like that, you embrace that atmosphere. And again, nothing better than to shut them up in their own spot. There's not a lot of things you can do in life where you can go to somebody else's house, push them around, beat them, and put them on mute. And we loved it. We embraced every bit of it.
Dogs come to play. Well, I know that we could talk to you for hours and hours and hours. I feel like we only really touched the surface. We'll have to have you back, but
we'll do it again.
We really do appreciate you coming on. We're so pumped about this game this week. Hook 'em freaking horns and let's
Hey.
go beat some damn Aggies.
And they go up, Aggies. I know y'all been doing that for 13 years and we didn't play y'all, but
We in the SEC
Oh.
now.
SEC, oh,
Thanks
let's
so much,
ruin their
Quan.
chances.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Hope you have a happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, Sam, y'all have a great Thanksgiving. Y'all do a great job. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks.
you.
See
Bye.
ya.